Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cold Spider-Man News. No, I'm kidding. It's just me. Ha, gotcha. It's crypto, your friendly neighborhood crypto source for what's going on in cryptocurrency. Welcome, everybody, back in. It's really cold out here in Central Texas. It's like snowing and raining outside. It looks more like rain to me, but I hope it picks up. And once I wrap up this video, I can go out there and enjoy some beautiful snow white. But for now, we have to stand in the cold. Actually, we don't, because we can just take a look at these nice, warm, red-hot crypto prices. Okay, maybe not so hot, unless dropping makes you excited. For some people, the prices dropping are a good thing, an opportunity to buy cheaper cryptocurrencies. But yes, we have Bitcoin down today, 2.7%. Continuing its drops, almost 5% on the week, and retracing a lot of the gains going back to the beginning of December. We haven't seen these prices right now. Some traders are speculating that if we breach this $90,000 level for Bitcoin, we could be seeing $85,000 Bitcoin and potentially $75,000 after that. So that would probably signal to a lot of people that it's the end of the bull market. But for myself, I remain steadfast despite some of the news that we're hearing right now about the United States liquidating some of this Silk Road Bitcoin. We're going to be getting into that and plenty more. But to continue with the prices here, we have Ethereum down 2.8% as well, right around Bitcoin. It's down more on the week, though. It's down 6.7%, currently at $3,229.88. Some of the bigger losers here in the top 10 coins are Solana, down 5.6% at $186.11. It's down 9.8% on the week, and Dogecoin on the day down 5.9%. Cardano also down a little bit more than some of those. Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's down 4.2%. The quicker you go up, the quicker you come down, as they say. So we've had a continued amount of liquidations, kind of continuing the trend of what I've been talking about over the last couple of days. So liquidations are now down over the last 24 hours, $371.74 million. A little bit less than the liquidations we saw yesterday. And there are quite a bit more short liquidations as well over the last 24 hours, $108.19 million. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is down to 69 at alternative.me, the longest Crypto Fear and Greed Index out there. Yesterday, we were at a 70, so pretty much still at greed. And if we actually head over to CoinMarketCap, that's dropped off as well. It's down lower into neutral territory at 49. Yesterday, we were at 50. So the the coin market cap fear and greed index is down 5 points today. What is causing a lot of this seems to be concern, right? So it's been like bad news after bad news. It's potentially that tomorrow we're going to see an employment report, and on Friday, tomorrow. Today, markets are closed to commemorate the late Jimmy Carter, old president here in the United States. So markets are not really open today, but still crypto markets trade 24/7. And so the pain, unfortunately, has continued today to the downside. And we will see what this employment report actually looks like tomorrow. If it ends up looking hot, then that could continue to give credence to this Fed strategy of keeping rates elevated, and potentially even opens up the door to rate hikes. So raising rates as opposed to keeping them still or lowering them, which would probably be better for cryptocurrencies. But anyway, that's some of the fear that's out there. So these negative headlines tend to push markets down, especially when it's been day after day of red. We have a lot of newer participants, for example, in ETFs, folks who are out there buying ETFs for the first time and not really sure of what's going on here, seeing this volatility for Bitcoin that they'd only heard about years ago when they thought Bitcoin died, but realized it didn't. And so they decided to get in. So we're seeing a lot of coming out. We'll look at that later, some of that data out of those ETFs. But anyway, the Department of Justice has apparently, purportedly, not confirmed, been cleared to sell $6.5 billion in Bitcoin seized from the Silk Road. This was posted by the DB Twitter account. DB is a crypto news site that claims to give you instant actionable news, and when something's really hot, after a while they will post it on their Twitter page. But if you did want that, those news sources coming at you in real time as they publish them, I believe their cheapest offering is $200 a month. Dang, I got to get into that crypto news business. I'm gonna be rich anyway. Yeah, right. Anyway, a federal judge apparently ruled December 30 that the Department of Justice can sell 69,370 Bitcoin seized from the Silk Road darknet marketplace. A years-long ownership dispute over the seized Bitcoin ended after Battleborn Investments lost its bid to delay the sale. The group had claimed ownership of this Bitcoin through a bankruptcy estate and recently lost a related Freedom of Information Act case seeking to reveal the identity of individual X who originally surrendered the Bitcoin. Battleborn's attorney called it another egregious example of the Department of Justice abuse of the civil asset forfeiture process, claiming the government relied on procedural trickery to make sure the facts are never heard. Nah, they never do that. I'm just thinking back to this earlier news related to the Freedom of Information Act request from Coinbase that just kept revealing more and more about this Operation Chokehold 2.0 that was meant through letters to make it actually impossible to offer services for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, all sorts of things. Anyway, the Department of Justice cited Bitcoin's price volatility in pushing for permission to sell the assets when asked about the next steps. A Department of Justice spokesperson said the government will proceed further consistent with the judgment in this case. The seized Bitcoin is currently valued at approximately $6.5 billion. Ooh, so that's kind of what's driving this fear, is that this Bitcoin could potentially be sold into markets, dipping us lower. Markets are trying to get ahead of that, since it does seem like a lot of Bitcoin. But it really is not a crazy amount. It's going to be managed, the sale, by the U.S. Marshal Service, and will be one of the largest liquidations of confiscated Bitcoins in history. So there are no details, as we saw from that quote at the bottom that we just discussed. The government will proceed in accordance with the case ruling. There are no details about the timing and precision or procedures of the liquidation that have been provided just as of yet. So very likely they will be trying to time these sells in orderly fashions. If it is the case that they're selling it now, what this is referring to, the reason they're doing this is because prices for Bitcoin had remained really nicely over $100,000, still in the $90,000 territory, and therefore proceeds from selling or auctioning this Bitcoin could look better than if they were to wait, for example, to some sort of real crash to happen. Anyway, I really liked this article here that was put up on CoinDesk by a James Van Straten. Market fears of potential selling pressure from the possible Silk Road sale is overblown. So this talks about how perhaps this sell of Bitcoin has been cleared because the Trump administration had previously said that they would seek to not perhaps sell any. I haven't heard them actually say. I just want to put that out there myself. I haven't read anywhere that they did not plan on selling any Bitcoin, the Trump administration. What I had read was that if any Bitcoin was sold, that what would be sold would be gold in the event of a reserve for Bitcoin, to buy Bitcoin as part of that proposal that had been put forth by, who was it, Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, I believe it was. And that if this strategic reserve Bitcoin bill was passed, that then they would not be selling any more Bitcoin and holding on to it. As from the Trump administration themselves, I've heard no such thing. My actual guess here is that Trump is probably trying to benefit himself and whatever crypto entities he works closely with in order to benefit them. I had seen about some sort of NFT that he was creating, a Bitcoin ordinal. So this was being called an attack on Bitcoin. There's some rhetoric going on around there from an old-time Bitcoin developer, one of the earlier ones, but I haven't had enough time to dig into all of that. But yeah, I mean, anything that's not pure Bitcoin to these guys, these this kind of cult of Bitcoin is an attack on Bitcoin. So yeah, I just think that was a little bit ridiculous while looking into that. I don't even know why I mentioned it here in the show. But anyway, yeah, I mean, apparently they're not going to be selling Bitcoin, the Trump administration. Apparently, I don't know what the source is for that. Maybe I missed it. Maybe you guys can share it down below. Haven't seen any actual promise of that. But they're trying to sell this Bitcoin before potentially that Trump administration comes into office, passes that Treasury Reserve bill, and we never get to sell that Bitcoin ever again. We have to hold on to it for the prosperity of the U.S. Oh, let's not do that. We just instead must shoot ourselves in the foot. Anyway, so that could be some of the reason why this is being sold. It may seem like a lot, 69,370 Bitcoin being sold, but this talks about, for example, the supply held by long-term hodlers of Bitcoin, those, according to this Glassnode data, that have been holding Bitcoin in their wallets for more than 155 days. And the market has apparently absorbed over 1 million Bitcoin since September that has been let go in this market. So they went down, these long-term holders, from 14.2, if you guys can see this chart, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, 4.2 million Bitcoin, and you can see it goes down, goes up. In the black is the price of Bitcoin, by the way, but the orange line drops all the way down here to about 13.2 Bitcoin. So million Bitcoin. So you've dropped off by about 1 million Bitcoin, and the market has been just fine. So 69,370 Bitcoin being liquidated would not be even comparable to this amount. And Bitcoin, despite this selling by the long-term hodlers, has resulted in an escalating Bitcoin price, even while they were letting go of these huge amounts as markets climbed through October, November, December, and into January. You can see price going up and their amounts going down. So I don't think there's real reason for panicking here at all. And the other reason is that, as we know, Germany has let go of their Bitcoin holdings that they have confiscated and had. They sold approximately 50,000 Bitcoin from mid-June to mid-July of 2023, a total value of $3.5 billion back then, around half of the value now. So even more than what could be sold right now by the U.S. government. And they'll probably sell it over a longer term period than just like 1 month or 1 day. I expect that they would place orders at different bids and so on, if they don't just do it over the counter or over some sort of auction, like the first major auction the United States held, where the Winklevoss twins actually bid on that Bitcoin. However, the market effectively front ran the selling when Germany sold, and the price bottomed out around July 7th at $55,000, while the German government still had possession of about half of the Bitcoin they were planning to sell, 25,000 Bitcoin. So this shows that the amount of Bitcoin being sold does not dictate the market. Yeah, as we can see here, this might be overblown fears. I'm not really panicking here, simply because the United States might be selling some Bitcoin. They've done this in the past. They'll probably do it again. Maybe not. Hopefully not, but that remains to be seen. I'd rather people themselves get more Bitcoin than the governments themselves accruing more power via what's supposed to be our sovereign money to help free us from them potentially in the future, right? Or over time, I guess. For some people, definitely they've been given a lot of freedom through having gotten exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other things earlier on. And we had this from the El Salvadorian president, Nayib Bukele, in response to this DB post of this. I haven't seen it confirmed besides this DB post, which is why, while DB is saying this is confirmed by officials, I haven't seen anything official from officials yet confirming this. So as far as I can tell, this is just conjecture. Could very well be true, of course. And Nayib said, maybe we'll all get the chance to buy Bitcoin at a discount. Just over the last week, El Salvador has continued to add to their Bitcoin holdings in the country to the tune of 18 Bitcoin over the last week. So yes, we see that ETFs have had large outflows, and in the United States, Bitcoin spot ETF totals we're seeing down $582.9 million in outflows right now. And when we're looking at ETH spot ETFs, we're seeing $159.34 million in outflows. So erasing some of the inflows that have happened recently. what was this? So yeah, we're expecting this non-farms payroll report tomorrow, and depending what that looks like, we might get more of a hint of what the Fed could be doing, what their commentary might look like, and how traders would trade around this kind of event. Generally, the Federal Reserve does not like to bet against the market and what the market expectations are. So if it looks really strong and hot this report tomorrow, then we could more likely see elevated rates, or I don't think they'll actually hike rates. I don't think they have the balls for that kind of thing. But that's some of the conjecture out there, is that we could potentially see hiking. If it does look better relative to some of these other reports that we covered yesterday, then we could actually perhaps see more of a reason to lower rates and act more dovish here. So the U.S. employment report on Friday, according to Valentin Fournier, analyst at Bern, he said in an email to CoinDesk, the U.S. employment report on Friday is highly anticipated by investors as it will provide critical insights into the health of the U.S. economy. We expect limited volatility heading into the weekend and recommend maintaining a heavy exposure to digital assets. Wow, nice. With a preference for Bitcoin over Ethereum. Yeah, everybody can have their opinions. Yeah, I had discussed this video. I finally got a chance to see it myself. I haven't retweeted it on X, but you guys will be able to find it there if you find my Twitter page, Cryptos News. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler in an interview with Bloomberg, where it was kind of funny actually. So the interviewer says, okay, so crypto has been like the Wild West, right? So what does that make you, the sheriff? Where are your spurs at? And then Gary Gensler goes, my daughter watches this, she's gonna wanna ask where my spurs are at. Anyway, he talks about how he has continued with his leadership at the SEC. What Jay Clayton, the chair before him, had done. So Jay Clayton was also someone not very liked in crypto. Having been doing this show for a long time, I can recall very vividly instances where I shared some of the negatives of what he had done. And Jay Clayton had brought about 80 different enforcement actions, and we're seeing from Gary Gensler and his squad about 100 enforcement actions. So he's basically saying, kind of in line with what we've seen before. I really do wonder if the new chair will mix things up and maybe we'll see less enforcement. But some of these enforcements have, I think, been necessary for sure against some actual bad actors. He pointed out here also that crypto represents just 1% of financial markets, which just when he said that reminds me how early we still are in the game. And he talked about how 95%, or was it? What was the exact number? Yeah. 95% of the enforcement actions from the SEC are not even related to crypto. Only 5% of them are. So a lot of their efforts are spent on other kinds of scammers and fraudsters that are out there. So it just really what this interview for me does is show me how small a drop in the bucket crypto still is. He also spouted some wrong numbers there, talking about how Bitcoin is like 2/3 of the crypto market. It's not. I mean, we can clearly see that right here. Bitcoin dominance is 54.3%. You would expect Gary Gensler to know that Bitcoin is maybe half the market, just over half the market here, and not more than that. Basically pointing to how Bitcoin and Ethereum are really the main things and everything else is just something else basically to ignore, is what he alludes to, except I guess when it comes to the case of enforcement actions, which are easier to do against more centralized projects with teams that are out there. At least he got the number of coins that are out there, around 15,000 to 18,000 coins, he said, that exist. There's 16,557 coins currently listed here on CoinGecko, and surely more that are not listed on here. So at least he was right in that regard. So yeah, check it out for yourself. It's only a 3-minute and 33-second video if you can. Interesting. Yeah. Texas court ordered Bitcoin investors to surrender keys to $124 million stash. So this is related to a case, the first case of what we're seeing when it came to perhaps tax evasion charges against a crypto investor. He was living in Austin, and a judge has ordered him to disclose all private keys and identify any devices that he used to store crypto, such as hardware wallets. He will be unable to transfer or hide digital assets without court approval. Oh yeah, they're totally going to let him hide assets. Just ask, right? Just ask the courts. So silly. Anyway, he can use funds if he requests for normal monthly living expenses. So this is an order. It's interesting to me because they're trying to recover about $1 million in restitution following the December conviction of this cryptocurrency investor. So they're trying to get $1 million back, but they're ordering him to surrender the keys to $124 million worth of crypto. So a little off there, the ratio, in my opinion. Anyway, this person is Richard Algren III, also known as Paco, marking the first U.S. criminal tax evasion case centered solely on crypto trading, as posted here on the Decrypt. He faces 3 counts of filing false tax returns and 4 counts of illegally structuring cash deposits. So if you don't know what structuring cash deposits is when you try to make deposits in separate amounts to try to hide how much you are trying to deposit into a bank, and try to evade certain disclosures and reports that the bank has to fill out and file with government agencies. If you, for example, try to sell less than a certain amount over time to reach a certain amount to avoid those reports, that's an illegal structuring of cash deposits. So he was sentenced to 2 years. He from falsely reporting the capital gains he earned from selling $3.7 million worth of Bitcoin. Just wanted to bring that story up. Yeah. And let's say, for example, you're like, yeah, well, how will they get him to cough up all his private keys and his $124 million stash? Well, if he doesn't cough that up, then he could be held in contempt and held in jail until he does spit that up. So it probably behooves him to just give up those keys. Yeah, just having a ledger hardware wallet might not be the best way to protect yourself from invasive governments, which is why I might not always cheer whenever they are accruing more and more, regardless of what government it is. Although it could be good for your pockets. In this case, it's not, right? Because U.S. selling a bunch of Bitcoin is not good. And just as they can buy, they can also sell. Or as they can accrue, rather, they sell. I think if they bought, they'd be less likely to want to sell, as we're seeing from El Salvador with their continued purchases. Anyway, I thought this is pretty funny. I found this on Twitter. Bro lasted 2 weeks. I don't know who this person is, but I just think this is funny, right? The ranch lawyer, retirement right on X. As a Christmas present to the Bitcoiners, here's what I'm going to do, he said. I'm going to buy $100 of Bitcoin every day, starting today, and will do so for 1 whole year. By next Christmas, we will see how much I have made. My basis will be $36,500. I bet it won't be much. And yeah, it didn't last very long here as we start 2025. The ranch lawyer wrote, sold and shorting. That's like the easiest way to get wrecked. And it just is such a signal to me of someone who has not been through cycles, right? Because when you sell is when it starts climbing again. So now that ranch lawyer is sold and shorting, I think personally for me that seems kind of like a Jim Cramer moment as they get their feet wet in these markets. And I leave you with this comic strip as we go into our quotes of the day. Can you hodl through a 25% dip? No. You're hired, crypto investors. I love that. Some lightness on days like today where it's dreary here in Central Florida. I was going to say in Central Texas, and dreary, I guess you could say, in the crypto markets, unless you're trying to buy more at these cheaper discounts. And I don't know if people have been reminding Michael Saylor to check his meds, but I wanted to remind you of this quote that he said. Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets, serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, faster, and stronger behind a wall of encrypted energy. Oh yeah, all this encryption really helped this fella in Texas, didn't it? And our actual quote of the day here by Tyler Winklevoss of the Winklevi twins, founders of the Gemini exchange. We see Bitcoin as potentially the greatest social network of all, alluding to how the Winklevoss twins were the founders of Facebook before it became Facebook, and how them getting involved with Bitcoin is them getting behind what could be the next biggest social network of all. And I think there's something to be said here, right? The network of money that connects us all, and having Bitcoin as a layer for that. So definitely powerful words, and I wanted to share that with you guys. A nice crypto-centric quote to finish off. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me here today. I didn't get to engage much with the chat here, but I don't want to make the videos too long and a little bit more concise as possible. Excluding ridiculous things that I do in the videos in the beginning, because I can't help myself. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Renee, Jason, Miles, No Name Bleach, Kyle, Ricky. I appreciate you, Sam, Validator, yo, and those of you guys who take the time to comment even after the video and couldn't make it to the live stream. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care, much love, and stay cryptic. Peace.